2018 Toyota Tundra in your hometown Toyota stores. And by Jack in the Box. Try the new Cholula Buttery Jack, part of the Buttery Jack family. It's cold and a little bit rainy tonight at Coors Field, but alas, there will be baseball. Last night, a tough night for the Rockies. They fell 16-5, but what a return off of suspension for Nolan Arenado. For more on that story, we check in downstairs with our Taylor McGregor. Taylor?
Yeah, Drew, Nolan Arenado back in the lineup after that 5-game suspension, and guess what? Nolan was Nolan. On the first pitch he saw last night, he took Cubs starting pitcher Kyle Hendricks yard. That's his second home run of the season and 150th of his career. Now, reaching that milestone, he joined some pretty good Rockies as the fastest guys to ever get there. Vinny Castilla and Todd Helton, the only ones who got there faster. Now, I asked Vinny if he had any advice for Arenado to continue a dominant career. He laughed at me and said, "Aha, you think he needs my advice? He's better than me."
For me, is the best third baseman they ever played the game. I mean, defensively, I don't see anybody can be close to him on a daily basis. He can have his highlight reel, man, for days, man. Because his plays are unbelievable, and I really appreciate the way he goes by his business.
Now, Nolan had his first 3-hit game last night, Drew. So you think he can do it again against you, Darvish?
I never bet against him, Taylor. He has been terrific, and it was great to see him on display last night. We're set for baseball. It's the Rockies, it's the Cubs. Come on back to Coors Field with us. Well, it's clearing up. I know that doesn't quite look like it, but it is. It's a lot better now than it was a few hours ago. Both teams got batting practice out on the field, which they were unable to do yesterday. There was a sprinkle going on, so a lot of guys were wearing skull caps, but looks like we're going to have a nice evening, a chilly evening, but we're ready for game 2 of this 3-game set between the Rockies and Cubs. The Rockies fell yesterday 16-5. They're going to ask Tyler Anderson to shut the door on a very potent Cubs lineup tonight. And let's take a look at that lineup that produced 16 runs on 18 hits last night. It is largely the same. Albert Almora Jr. had 4 hits last night. Javi Baez is as hot as anybody in baseball. He drove in 4 yesterday. He's hitting over 400 in his last 8 ball games. Chris Bryant will be in right field tonight. He'll bat third. Then Anthony Rizzo, Wilson Contreras behind the plate. The only change of note is Ian Happ. Actually, there's 2 changes of note. Ian Happ's in left field, the switch hitting slugger. Addison Russell. And then a great story at third base. This is a local kid from Thornton, Colorado, and Faith Christian High School. David Bodie is making his major league debut because Ben Zobrist was placed on the DL with back tightness. So Bodie, after spending the last 7 years in the minor leagues, Joe Madden has said, kid, not only welcome to the big leagues, but you're starting at third in your hometown. How about that?
Yeah, make sure you get enough tickets ordered so you can get all your friends and family in Coors Field.
A lot of similarities between Joe Madden and his very good friend Buddy Black. And it's not a surprise because I think Buddy would probably do the same thing. They're sharp guys. They think alike. They understand human emotion. I love the move by Joe Madden.
Why not? If you have a guy making his major league debut, why not put it in a place that means something to him? This is his backyard. He's going to be in front of about 30 friends and family. This is, if you're ever going to have a chance, an opportunity to take somebody's adrenaline level and see what he can get out of it, this is the day to do it.
Yeah, you'd love to be able to test adrenaline level. It'll be off the charts for Bodie. Here's the numbers on Tyler Anderson. I think Jeff Houston described his first 4 outings very well. There's been some very good, and there's been some places where he's been rough. Tempo for me, Huey, is really important tonight for Tyler.
Yeah, and I think the times he's been good, he's had great tempo where he's getting the baseball, he's going after it. 4 starts on the year for Tyler, and what I look at out of all this, we've seen more curveballs from him, but it still goes back to the fastball so he can get to the changeup. The changeup has been hit or miss as well this year, but he's been falling behind just a little bit too much. Time now for our Pizza Ranch for the win. The other thing that has not happened for Tyler this year is his ground ball percentage is not very high, 19.6. That is the lowest right now in the major leagues with qualifying guys. Last year he was at 45.3%, just a little bit above major league average, which is at 44.4%. So that kind of tells you right there that the ball's been up too many times this year for Tyler.
Well, I'll give you one more number on ground ball percentage. 2 years ago it was at 53%. It's a small sample size. It won't be 19% when we visit again in July on Tyler Anderson, but it is alarmingly low.
Through 4 games.
Absolutely. So here we go. Albert Almora Jr. steps up, and that first pitch cuts over the inside corner for strike 1. And that clearly is a good sign because his first pitch strike percentage has been down this year also. This is an aggressive Cubs lineup, and this is just going to float out there and drop. Just a bloop single that would not be a base hit in Wrigley Field, one of the smallest outfields in baseball, but cavernous Coors Field, that drops. And so Almora is on in front of Javier Baez. Tonight's defense for the Rockies is brought to you by John Deere. Mike Tauchman's getting the start in left field. Charlie will be next to him naturally, and Gerardo Parra again for Cargo, who's nursing that hamstring strain. In the infield, Arenado, Story, LeMahieu. McMahon had a couple hits last night, and against the right-hander, Yu Darvish, he is in there for Desmond. Tony Walters is behind the plate. And a first pitch strike on Javi Baez right at the knees.
Well, last night, Drew and Spilly, those guys, the Cubs, they were very aggressive. The first 4 hitters, or first 3 hitters, only saw 4 pitches.
And I don't think it's so much a game plan based on who's on the mound. I think it's a personality thing, Spilly, with some of those guys up top.
There's no question. When you look at the Cubs lineup and how aggressive they are, the first 3 hitters, check out the numbers, 4 for 6 for Almora, Javier Baez with another 4-hit night, and they were aggressive early. And I think when you're looking at certain names in that lineup, Albert Almora Jr., you may not realize that 4 hits and 4 runs, he's done that 5 times this season. Mookie Betts and only a handful of other people have done it this year.
Well, this guy at the plate, Javi Baez, over his last 8 games has a 1474 OPS. And that is a beautiful changeup. Jim Deshaies, who had a wonderful career as a pitcher and does the Cubs games as an analyst, asked you, Huey, about 45 minutes ago, what kind of changeup does Tyler Anderson have?
I told him when he's on, this is the type of changeup he has on the Subaru Supermo. It just really fades away from Javier Baez. And I think that is the area tonight that Tyler can exploit a little bit for Baez.
Let me ask you guys this, because Baez has been in his young career susceptible from a right-handed slider away. The chase pitch, classic chase pitch, right on right. You got a lefty here. Where do you get the swing and miss with a left-hander with Tyler's arsenal?
Well, you can get the swing and miss up in the zone. You can get the changeup down and away.
Well, that's down and away, and he lines it to center field. And now it's runners at first and second. That's a good piece of hitting.
When a guy's hitting, they'll hit where a pitch is no matter what. And for Javi Baez, 3 for 20 now against lefties on the season. There's the down and away changeup, but there's times where you just show a hitter too much. And then there's other times where the hitter's just on fire.
I think both these guys right now are on fire. You saw the blooper by Almora and then Javi Baez. A solid line drive.
Well, now that's where the below ground ball percentage, which normally is above league average for Tyler Anderson, that's what he needs right here with Brian at the plate. He needs a twin killing. 41 degrees is our game time temperature. And again, that's what we were discussing. Ground ball percentage for Anderson the last
and there's
2+ years.
Yeah, and there's nobody right now that has one lower than 25%.
That's in the air and playable to Charlie. Now Moore is going to tag, and Charlie's throw is cut off. Played Baez, and Baez able to slide in. So you had the double tag, which you don't often see, especially on a ball straight away.
Well, this is an opportunity for Charlie Blackmon. Trevor Story's lining up as a relay throw towards third base, but as a center fielder, this is not the throw you make. You can take the decision, and you can see Trevor Story's lining up as a cutoff man, but the ball should go straight to second base. You can live with him going to third. You're still keeping the double play in order, and he can get out of it. Now that's just a free base for the Cubs with an aggressive base runner.
And I think if you would have thrown to second, Baez would have stopped.
Yeah,
he would have gone back to first, even though he's ultra aggressive.
So 2 in scoring position for Anthony Rizzo. And Rizzo takes down and in. Rizzo last night was not part of the offensive party. 18 hits, 16 runs. He went 0 for 5.
Always one guy like that.
That's a strike. Mark Reynolds had a great line last year. The Rockies had one of those nights like the Cubs had last night. And Mark was 0 for. And a reporter asked him about it. He said, hey, somebody had to make the outs. We'd still be out there playing. I'm just helping out my teammates. They need some rest. It's a team guy.
Team guy.
One and one on Anthony Rizzo. Chop foul. Now you hunt the strikeout.
Tyler's averaging over a strikeout per inning pitch. 21.
17 innings.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing. The strikeout percentage is up. His walk percentage is more than doubled from a year ago. But I think the one thing you have to remember, it's a small sample size right now. 1-2. Tried to get him to chase. 2-2. This is slice to left and foul.
Anthony Rizzo is one of the few hitters in baseball, as they get to 2 strikes, that is willing to choke up on the barrel. And think of a handful of guys. I know it was more prevalent a couple years ago. You can look at Anthony as he's choking up. And part of the thinking process for most hitters when you decide to choke up is that you have better control of the barrel. Now, you're not going to have as much whip, but you'll have better control if you're willing to put the ball in play.
I think, too, right now, he's just looking to put it in play with the infield back, get an RBI. Somebody else we just saw recently choked up with 2 strikes. I'm trying to remember who it was.
3-2.
And I've talked to some pitchers too. When somebody stands right on the plate like Anthony Rizzo, it blurs their window with where they can go with their pitches, because all they see is the hands hanging over the plate. I mean, he's right on the dish, and watch where his hands are once that, I mean, it's about 2 or 3 inches off the inner corner.
Strike 3 on that inside corner. And Huey, I'm glad you did that description right there. Rizzo doesn't like it, but he sees a ball underneath his hands, but his hands start in the strike zone.
Exactly, and so that's where you can go sometimes. And we'll get a great look on the Subaru Supremo with the slider. Started at the hip, well received.
It's a great pitch.
It's a very good pitch. So notice where the hands are. I mean, those are right over the plate.
That's a lot of plate.
That's a lot of plate.
Yeah, that's closer to middle of the plate than the black.
And the other player I was thinking about a moment ago that choked up with 2 strikes, Corey Dickerson, with Pittsburgh.
Yep.
He's the other guy.
Not out of the woods yet. 2 outs. Wilson Contreras at the plate. And this ball is crushed to deep center field. And it is gone. Or is it? Nope, they said the top of the wall. 2-run double. Joe Madden wondering the same thing. That ball was left up and it was punished. 2-0 Chicago.
Wilson Contreras just hops on the first pitch. And just watch where the glove is. Is it?
Oh, that's what Joe Madden. That did the young man touch the baseball? They're going to take a look at it. Now, it's not whether he touched it. He has to reach into the field of play. We had one of those about a week ago. Was it in Washington?
No, it was the one here.
No, we had one here.
It was on Cargos here.
Yes,
it was a home run.
Home run on Cargos. And just remember, too, that the yellow is just helping the umpires. It's not signifying that if it hits the yellow, it's a home run. It's got to go over that.
I don't think it's going out of the ballpark.
I don't think it is either. I think the call that they had was correct.
But here's the thing: as opposed to the one with Cargo, that they could say that that glove was slightly over the wall, where the guy who had the glove against Cargo, he was behind the wall,
and that had already hit a fielder's.
Right, exactly. That it came in and out of the glove of.
I can't remember the outfield right now. I'm drawing a blank.
Against the Padres, right?
San Diego,
was
yeah.
Cordero?
Spangenberg.
Spangenberg.
So the Rockies on the season are 2-6 when an opponent scores first. So we always say how important that first run in a game is.
And remember, too, I think it bears repeating that it was called the double on the field. So they're taking all this time still trying to determine what happened. But just watching the way the ball ricocheted back off of that, it wouldn't go that far if it hit somebody's glove.
I don't think it was going out of the ballpark. And hopefully they'll come to the same conclusion in New York. It is a double. And right now it's hard to tell because there's so many Cubs fans who are booing. That'll bring up Ian Happ. Well, the Cubs last night jumped on the Rockies for 2 runs. Against John Gray, Happ swings and misses, 0-1.
Happ got the 2018 baseball season underway when he swung at the first pitch and hit it out for a home run.
Yeah, the first pitch of this season.
Of anybody.
Yep.
He has been in a bit of a tailspin.
He has struck out 51% of the time so far. 25 strikeouts and 49 at bats. And this ball's lined to right field, and Parra tracks it down. In the inning, 3 hits, 2 runs for the Cubs. DJ LeMahieu doing his thing. He's got an on-base percentage just under 400, and he'll be atop this Rockies batting order for the 11th straight ball game. Gerardo Parra next, and Charlie Blackmon will be in the 3 spot. Nolan back. He's batting 4. Story, McMahon, Mike Tauchman, Tony Walters, Tyler Anderson. And for the Cubs, it's the 4th start for Yu Darvish, but his first in 8 days. They didn't skip him or anything. It's been postponements, and because of weather, he has not started since April the 13th.
Now the Cubs signed him this offseason. It took quite an offseason for Yu Darvish to sign him. He thought he was going to return to the Dodgers, and they have him for 6 years. You see the usage. Fastball 94 miles an hour. Will go to his slider right away. For Yu Darvish, the biggest thing he's been struggling with this season has been control, especially first pitch. First pitch strike for him less than 60%. Career-wise, it's about 66% of the time. First pitch strike to DJ.
Mayhew hits this ball to deep right. Bryant on the move, reaches up and makes the catch waist high. Here's the Cubs defensively, brought to you by John Deere. And there is Bodie, David Bodie, making his big league debut in his hometown, ostensibly. He'll be at third base. The outfield has Happ, Almora Jr., and Bryant, who plays the outfield and third base, as most of you know. It's Russell and Baez up the middle, and a very athletic twosome there. Rizzo at first, and Contreras behind the plate. Parra was 1 for 4 last night. Had a base hit to left. Darvish misses at the top of the zone there. Home plate umpires Jordan Baker. Corey Blazer from Pomona High School is at first base. Greg Gibson, crew chiefs at second. Vic Carapazza is at third. Outside. Well, when you look at some of the data we get on pitchers, Yu Darvish is the first and only guy that I've ever seen where 6 different pitches are listed. And if you're wondering what could they be, 3-0. Fastball, naturally, slider, cutter, curveball, changeup, and the splitter, which can be devastating. I've never seen a guy with 6 pitches listed.
No, and probably he could throw more if he feels like it. He's
Seen
a
him
guy
throw
that can
the
go from
eephus.
2 to 12.
So, folks, if you ever see Wilson Contreras all of a sudden drop his catcher's glove and use both hands, that's why. I think we know what pitch is coming here. 3-1. Center field. Misjudged initially by Almora Jr., but he catches up. There's 2 outs. And that'll bring up Charlie.
Darvish, he's a pretty big guy. 6'5", 220, 230 pounds.
Very good athlete.
I happened to walk by him yesterday in the tunnel down by the dugout. I was a little amazed. I didn't realize he was that tall.
Yeah, I saw him.
That big.
I saw him this afternoon in the clubhouse, and surprisingly, he was a lot taller
You know
than I
what?
am.
Just
That's
by a couple
everybody.
inches,
Yeah,
or a
by,
foot.
by a couple inches.
A little closer to a foot.
Okay. But that we say that a lot though when you see guys on TV, how they seem to get larger when you're up next to them and bigger. I think that's just kind of the breed of athlete now.
Ohtani's even bigger than Darvish.
Ohtani comes in a couple weeks.
Ohtani does come in a couple of weeks.
Beginning of May, Angels make their appearance. It's the 8th and the 9th here against the Rockies.
2 strikes on Blackman.
And for Ohtani growing up in Japan, the guy he idolized was Yu Darvish. And what's interesting is Yu Darvish and Ohtani over time have created pretty good friendship.
Culturally over there, is it still Ichiro and then everybody else a notch
Yu
below?
Darvish is
He's pretty close.
He's pretty close to Ichiro.
He's being aggressive with the fastball. You keep looking for that splitter to show up ahead in the count.
I think he's trying to establish a little fastball command.
Because of what you guys were discussing,
Yeah.
and it's been a little wobbly, shall we say, so far.
So if he can establish that, he can go to the splitters and the sliders.
Charlie equal to the task again on a fastball in the mid-90s. Charlie threw out a base hit in the first to drive in a run, and right behind that, Nolan hit the home run. And the Rockies wiped out the 2-0 deficit, took a 3-2 lead. Fortunately, it got ugly soon after.
Good passes from Charlie, trying to stay away from him on the Subaru strike zone.
Mentioned earlier, lefties are hitting 357 against Yu Darvish, righties 188. Even the strikeout percentages dropped significantly. Not a lot of walks to lefties.
And the Rockies again have loaded up on the left-handed bats in the lineup. Parra, Blackman, McMahon, Tauchman, Walters tonight.
So we know how the Rockies have been struggling to hit offensively this year. I think you'd be shocked when I tell you, as a unit, they're hitting 194 off right-handers. But at the end of the day, they're 7-5 record-wise against right-handers.
Count remains 1-2 as Charlie keeps fouling off fastballs. Contreras makes a couple of suggestions. Now they go fastball in, it looks like. And we got it. A 1-2-3 start for Darvish. We'll go to the second. The Cubs up 2-0. Join us on our broadcast tonight and every night by sending us your thoughts, questions, comments, photos. Use Twitter or the hashtag Toyota Talk. Actually, use Twitter and the hashtag Toyota Talk. If you go or, you will not reach anybody. Understand that?
Can't reach anybody?
No, you have to use both. You have to use Twitter and then include the hashtag Toyota Talk. Okay. Anderson against Addison Russell, and he swings at the first pitch and fouls it off. So in the first inning, there were 3 hits. A fly out, a strikeout, and then a line drive to deep right field. We were talking about ground ball percentage and that it's below 20%. There was not a ball hit on the ground in the first inning with 6 batters who came to the plate for the Cubs.
Yeah, and the time that you needed it too. You didn't get that ground ball. Even last night we saw John Gray with a base loaded one time. He did get that ground ball, so he only gave up 1 run.
This is going to be out of play.
So you mentioned something earlier, Drew, about how aggressive the Cubs have been against the Rockies the last. So I'm just looking at their season-wide numbers. They're hitting 330 on 0-0 counts. They're hitting 350 on 0-1 counts. They're hitting 438 on 1-0 counts, and they're not taking much. They are swinging, they're firing through the first 3 pitches of an at-bat.
Russell swung at everything so far, and again, he is fortunate enough to get it far enough out of play that McMahon does not have an opportunity to grab an out. So it remains 2-strike count on Addison Russell. Russell, former first-round pick of the Oakland A's. We have a bunch of first-rounders running around in the field tonight for Joe Madden. And that just missed.
Straight.
Looking down their lineup, Almora Jr.
Oh, Tony just thought that was a strikeout and threw it down to third. And according, we had the Subaru strike zone up just a moment ago. It was strike 3. And that's a strike any day of the week.
Yeah.
That's why Tony didn't even hesitate.
Yeah, that looked like that was all over the outside.
Yeah,
that was the same
5.
pitch to Chris Bryant.
Yeah, it was pitch number 5 on the Subaru strike zone. The one that Tony threw down to third.
2-2 now on Russell. Three and 2. So the first-round picks for the Cubs in their lineup, Almora Jr. was a first-round pick. Chris Bryant, as you know, was a first-round pick. I'm trying to remember, was Rizzo a first-round pick of Boston? Check that one. Ian Happ's a first-round pick. Addison Russell's a first-round pick. That's 4. That's strike 3. Now you can throw it down.
Strike 4. Rizzo was a 6th-rounder.
Rizzo was a 6th-rounder in Boston.
Finally, for Tyler, gets that changeup located on the Subaru Supermo. The outside corner, and Russell takes it again, and this time he's walking back to the dugout.
So here's David Bodie stepping into a major league batter's box for the first time in his career, and it's in his home state, a handful of miles from where he grew up. And his dad, in the Cubs hat, is a lifelong Cubs fan. Now his dad is a baseball guy, one of the winningest high school coaches in the state. And his son slices one to right center field, and his first big league at bat is going to go for a double. Well, it didn't come in a Rockies uniform, but a special, special moment for David Bodie, for his dad, for his family, and for all of his friends.
Reaction from his teammates, pretty incredible.
Well, you remember that first base hit, your first time up? I do too, and that's a pretty nice swing from David Bodie. Takes it to the off gap, and you know right now as he's running, he doesn't feel anything. Family's excited.
Well, his dad, you know, taught him to play well. He's the head coach at Stanley Lake. Can't ever take it away.
Nope.
1 ball, 1 strike on Yu Darvish.
It's kind of like what Kyle Freeland did when he stepped out on the mound last year against the Dodgers.
Yep.
You know, and for David Bodie, he was born in 1993, the same year the Rockies first came into existence and playing in the major leagues.
Bodie was a huge star at Faith Christian. Now, Faith Christian's not a big school. It's a 3A school. And he was the player of the year in the state out of Faith Christian. He could always hit, and he was a slick fielding shortstop. He went to Liberty University in Virginia. It's a strike. For the fall semester, and for reasons that we're not privy to, he left there and went to a junior college in Kansas and was drafted out of there the next spring in the 18th round. And 7 years later, here he is in the big leagues. Again, because Ben Zobrist was placed on the DL. 2-2. Bodie takes off. Throw to third. Out at third base. Strike him out. Throw him out. And that'll get the Rockies off the field. So Bodie makes his big league debut. Hits a double. And then tries to swipe third, and he's cut down. 2-0. Middle of 2. Chicago. Nothing. The Coors Light refreshing finish happened in the first inning last night. First pitch Nolan sees after coming off the 5-game suspension list, and he swats it out to right field. The second home run of the year, career home run number 150. So it got us thinking. Third baseman all time with 150 plus home runs in their first 736 big league games. The Hall of Famer Eddie Matthews, the Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt, former teammate of our Jeff Houston, Troy Glass, Bob Horner, who once hit 4 home runs in a game, the great Arizona State star who had as much power for a short period of time as anybody in the game, and then Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, Bob Horner also went from college directly to the big leagues.
Yeah, do
he
not
didn't
pass go.
He
yeah.
collected more than $200.
It's a great baseball card after Bob Horner hit the 4 home runs, and I still have it. It's him holding 4 baseballs in his hand, in one hand. I was like, that's so cool.
Bob Horner was some kind of strong. 1 strike on Nolan. Darvish worked him away in his first pitch, and he does it again there. It's 0-2.
89 miles an hour. That's a cutter.
Bob Horner, Rookie of the Year back in 1978. Darvish with the Dodgers after a trade last year. Pitched well in the regular season in the final couple months. Did not pitch well in the postseason.
Well, there was argument, people speculating that he was tipping his pitches.
2-2.
He must have been, because they were laying off everything, and whenever he came in there, it was getting hit hard.
And sometimes people, if you're curious what tipping a pitch means, it's there could be times where the pitcher's in his set, depending on where he brings his glove or where he pulls it up, how close it is to his body.
This is hooked to third, and Bodie will field cleanly his first big league chance. 1 out. There's sometimes, fellas, you see where a guy will set higher when he's throwing a breaking ball.
Yep.
He wants to get that leverage, make sure he gets.
Or if he goes out of the windup, yeah, sometimes they'll bring their hands further behind their head if it's one pitch or the other. Kevin Apier did that for a little bit when he was throwing his split finger with the Kansas City Royals. He wouldn't go quite as deep behind him. He would just stop more at the top of his head. Little things like that is what you're trying to study on the bench.
How quickly in baseball circles, outside of your own team, does that information travel?
You know, there's times where you try to keep that one close to the vest because you don't want another team finding out that the guy's tipping pitches. If you can have an advantage over somebody, you don't want anybody to know.
Right.
Unless you have a friend on the other team, not on that team, but on the team that's going to face that guy, and you can give him a little heads up. Hey, if you want to get a couple hits tonight, check this out.
I mean, it was startlingly bad. His numbers last year in the World Series: 3 1/3. 9 runs, 8 earned on 9 hits. He didn't strike a batter out. And again, that's over 2 starts. Story chases at the top of the zone. It's 1-2. Trevor last night 0 for 2, though he reached twice, hit by a pitch and walked. This is the first time Darvish has ever made a start at Coors Field.
He was 5-2 in his career against the National League West.
So now the only parks that Darvish has never started in: SunTrust Park, the new home of the Braves; PNC Park for the Pirates; and Busch Stadium in St. Louis. I think he's going to see Pittsburgh and St. Louis a few times.
Two knocked off.
Right now, Yu Darvish is tied with Daisuke Matsuzaka, 56 wins, 43 losses in their career.
What is that?
That's the sun.
You'll scare it.
That's
Stop
the
it.
sun, Jeff. Come on
Need my
now.
sunglasses.
Story fouls that off.
The all-time winningest Japanese-born pitcher is Hideo Nomo, 123 wins, 109 losses.
Still the only guy, as everybody knows, to throw a no-hitter here at Coors Field. Two outs, and that'll bring up Ryan McMahon. Fans, when the Rockies score 7 in a game, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the next day between 4 and 6 to get your Rockies taco special. Live Moss at Taco Bell. Well, first multi-hit game of young Ryan McMahon's career came last night. A single, and then he went opposite field with that sweet stroke of his and produced a double.
He's hit 3 straight, and those hits came in the 7th and the 9th inning.
And now he's higher up in the lineup than he's been at any point this year. Some of that has to do with the fact that Buddy's loading up on left-handed bats against Darvish. That pitch is not good for you down in there.
Yeah, it looks inviting until you go to swing at it. And then about halfway through your swing, you're saying, can I stop my swing? Why am I swinging? Those thoughts go through your head.
Well, we showed you the sun a moment ago because we wanted to reunite everybody with the sun here in Colorado. However, the temperature, which started at 41 degrees at first pitch, has slipped to 37. So the sun is out, but it's getting colder.
It's supposed to warm up to mid-60s tomorrow. Sun out.
38 degrees. Mid-60s tomorrow?
Yeah.
We're going to wear bathing suits, Yen.
Yeah.
Just don't wear a Speedo, okay?
Well, what other kind of bathing suit is there?
There's other options. Look at the Roaring 20s. You can wear that full bodysuit bathing suit. Comes your favorite F. Scott Fitzgerald character. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
What is it, Gatsby?
Great book.
It's the only one I read in high school.
Period. The only book.
Probably.
Nothing Chicago. 2 outs in the Rockies half of the second.
Spoiled some good pitches from Darvish.
Well, Darvish came into today's game averaging about 20 pitches per inning.
That won't get you very deep into a game.
And that's why he's only gone 6 innings once in his 3 starts. All the other less than 5 innings.
Rizzo's got it, and Darvish takes the feed. A 1-2-3 second. As we go to the third, it's the Cubs 2 and the Rockies nothing.
tell by these fans right here, it's a chilly night at Coors Field. So you can tell those guys staying warm by the layers, but how do the players do it? It's time for the UC Health Rock Your Routine. Earlier today, Mike Fontanelli, we call him Tiny. He's the home clubhouse manager here at Coors Field. He gave us an idea of all the layers and hand warmers, everything that players got to stay warm. Now, I talked to Chris Iannetta and said, is there anything extra you guys do to stay warm? And he said, honestly, I just layer up. And you can see they got a lot of good gear there. Now, there is a sauna, and I'm told players go in there from occasion. Spilly, you probably know more about that.
Yeah, Taylor, I used to spend a lot of time in the sauna during a game.
What?
Yep.
Would you care to elaborate, or are you just going to leave it at that?
Look, I wasn't the only guy, okay? So what would happen is in between innings, guys on the bench, I'd always make sure I'd watch as many pitches on the bench as possible unless I'm getting ready to pinch hit. And on cold evenings, the Goon squad, the typical bench group, would run into the sauna and spend about 2 minutes in the sauna and run back down and cheer on their teammates.
So in full gear,
like with your spikes
full
on and everything.
Yeah, you just jump in there, you get heated up.
When you get so sweaty, then you came out and get cold then? When you came back to the cold
Listen,
air?
we weren't saying we were geniuses, but the idea,
Okay.
we were warmer for 2 minutes.
But for that 2 minutes, it was glorious.
Great.
man chasing won't be able to get there. 2 balls, 2 strikes on the leadoff man for the Cubs, not only in the inning but in the order, Albert Almora Jr.
Now, within the dugout, you'll see different heaters. I've seen guys set their batting gloves on fire trying to warm them up because they used to have tacky stuff on it or pine tar. I've seen pants catch on fire.
3-2.
For us older generation, I remember playing in the old thermals that you could buy at Kmart and all those places where it was so bulky that you couldn't get a lot of layers on.
Ball 4, a walk to Almora Jr. Huey, when you broke in, was there still wool garments?
Well, on the old timers day, they like to do that. They weren't wool, but what I'm saying is the old thermals, the white thermals that you used to get. That's what you had. You didn't have any of the Under Armour stuff.
Like what the old prospector would wear.
Yes.
Now you'll see hitters, they'll go next to the heater and they'll take their bat and they'll use the handle because oftentimes you'll see pine tar on the handle and that will warm up the pine tar so you get your sticky bat.
Baez swings and misses, but that went off the glove. It was not a foul ball. And therefore Almora takes second base. This is a changeup away. And it's just not caught by the normally sure-handed Tony Walters. That would be a pass ball on Tony. Baez right now leading the National League in slugging percentage at .742.
I had a Bryce Harper and Charlie.
Here's the top 5 in the league. Guy at number 4 is generating a lot of conversation. Joe Madden, when you and I walked into his office yesterday, Huey, of course you're good friends with Joe, go way back with him. He was talking about Ozzie Albies. He gave 2 thumbs up. He said, I love that kid.
I love him. And then when we told him he's the youngest player.
Yeah, he didn't realize that. Yeah. 2 strikes on Baez. Uber talented and hyper aggressive. That pitch probably a little too good, Spilly, 0-2, isn't it?
That's way too healthy of a cut with 2 strikes. And it just gives you confidence. If you're a hitter and a pitcher sees that type of swing, I mean, Tyler's lucky he got away with that pitch. That's a center cut.
That's a 2-0-3-1 swing, right?
And that's center cut in the middle of the Subaru strike zone. Tyler got away with one. You got to make sure you bury a pitch down and in if you want to get him. Live with that pitch.
We talk about illusions. The good pitchers can make a pitch look like a strike for 50 feet, 55 feet, the illusion of a strike, and then have it be off the plate, in or out, or up, to induce a swing where it is hard to contact the baseball.
Because the first 10 feet out of the hand, 15 feet, that's when you're telling yourself, your brain's telling you, this, I've got to fire at this. And then when it gets halfway there, you're already starting your swing. And so that illusion, that last 15 or 20 feet, is what caused you to swing and miss.
This ball on the ground. Story will throw out Baez. Almora with a good read. He's chopped basically right at him, so he was able to cross over. 1 out, and that'll bring up Chris Bryant. On a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, which is a well below average big league fastball. The major league average right now is basically 93 miles an hour. You have 4/10 of a second to make a decision. And then in those 4/10, when you make that decision, now you have to deliver 32 ounces typically of wood into the hitting zone. Rockies down 2 runs with 1 out. Will bring the infield in against Bryant.
That's where you have to do that because of the free 90 that you had given Almora with the pass ball to get to second base. And he takes third on the ground out.
Well, he gave him really 180 feet of free
oh, it's true with the walk.
The walk as well. 1-0, 2-0. The Rockies typically, and I think throughout the year we'll say this, are going to play airtight defense. You're going to have, you know, poor games.
Sure.
It's possible to be clean 162 times. Last night was one of those poor games. First time this year they've made more than 1 error in a game.
They're still third in the National League, 4th in all of baseball, even after the 2 errors last night
They're
on the year.
They're going to play great defense.
So I know you were talking about illusion and making sure you get a pitch that looks like a strike from 50 to 55 feet. Now there's times where a pitcher can force that issue for a hitter. And number 1 is increase the pace. Increase how quick you're making a hitter feel that he has to be ready to hit. And right now, just watching Tyler, it's slowed down. It's slowed down quite a bit. I think back to the game that Chad Bettis was pitching in Pittsburgh. It was a pitch every 6 seconds. And when you're using a secondary pitch like a changeup, getting a hitter to think fastball and making them feel rushed, that changeup becomes a weapon based on the pace.
3-1, ball 4. And that's something we discussed at the top of the broadcast with Tyler. When he has been good, he has tempo that's similar to Chad Bettis. Tonight, again, once you go to the stretch, things change. I understand that. And he's been in the stretch, unfortunately, for a decent portion of this game. Now he needs a ground ball with Rizzo at the plate. 1st and 3rd, down 2-0. There's 1 out in the 3rd.
I'm going to watch Bryant at first.
Bryant can run.
Yeah. Sneak attack over there.
On and missed. Rizzo's just 3 for 34 out on the road. Try to keep him in that kind of funk. Struck out looking at a 3-2 cutter on the front door his first time up. passes on the infield. DJ handles it, and that's out number 2.
The first 20,000 fans through the gates tomorrow will receive a 25th anniversary reusable Earth Day tote bag courtesy of MLB Network.
I'll bring up Wilson Contreras, who knocked in the 2 Chicago runs with a double off the very, very top of the center field wall. In fact, they looked at it for a moment to see if there was fan interference. And this will get Anderson out of it. Charlie makes the catch, 2 left up. And we'll go to the bottom of the 3rd. The Rockies looking for their first base runner against Yu Darvish. Subaru, love it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. By O'Toole's, putting the color in Colorado. And by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo customers get your 2-for-1 Rockies club level tickets by visiting wellsfargo.com/Rockies. With Ryan Spilborghs and Jeff Houston and Taylor McGregor, I'm Drew Goodman. Mike Tauchman will step in the bottom of the 3rd, 7-8-9 for Colorado against Yu Darvish out of Osaka, Japan. Tauchman takes strike 1. One of those young bench players trying to get untracked offensively. It's hard to do when you're not getting regular at bats, but that is your role when you're coming off the bench. You have to find a way because you're not going to get 25 at bats a week.
It's a hard role for a guy that has 10 years in the big leagues.
Yeah, you lived that role at times in your career. So did you, Spilly.
And sometimes you just have to take small victories. And no, it doesn't look good on the average when you're looking up at the scoreboard. You know, when you're sitting in 1 for 21, that's not good. But I think for Mike too, he's been a little bad luck where a lot of the guys that he's faced lately, not tonight notwithstanding, have been left-handed.
Yep. It's been a tough draw. I remember there's times where as a pinch hitter you foul off a lot of pitches just because your timing isn't quite there, and I would get rid of that bat because I didn't want to see how many missed balls I had on the barrel.
But if you watch Mike Tauchman, and we got to watch him some last year, we got to watch him a lot in spring training. There's a ton to like about his overall game. He can swing it. He can run. He can defend.
I mean, 21 at bats in 21 games. That's what he's getting.
pinch hitter lives and dies with every at bat.
Oh,
you
you
try
do.
and you try not to.
What you do?
Tony Walters on deck.
This is a good at bat for Michael, just for him to get a good view of what Yu's featuring tonight, and knowing, especially on a night like tonight, where he's going to get at least 3 at bats, which you can start gaining a little bit of confidence.
Hot fly to shallow right, Bryant territory. 1 out. That'll bring up Tony Walters. Well, we mentioned earlier that Joe Madden and Buddy Black go back to their days together on the Angels staff with Mike Scioscia, and there's so many big names that come off that staff. They remain very, very close friends. And Buddy shared a story with me about a nickname given to him by Joe Madden their first year. They were playing a spring training game against Arizona down in Hermosillo, Mexico. And after the game, all the players and coaches were signing autographs for the fans. And there was a fan in the stands as Buddy was signing away, who kept saying to him, "Como te llamas?" And Buddy would say, "Buddy Black." "No, como te llamas?" He said, "Buddy Black." "Como te llamas?" "Bud Black." He asked him a 4th time, and he said, "Pepe Negro." And from that point on, Joe, who is standing next to him, has called him Pepe. He doesn't call him Buddy. He doesn't call him Harry. He doesn't call him Butto. He calls him Pepe.
A strange way we get nicknames in this game.
3-0.
Think about some of the guys on that staff. You had Joey, Bud Black, Ron Renicky was on that. Mickey Hatcher, remember Mickey? He was
Sure.
a hitting coach there. There's, of course, Scioscia's still with the Angels all these years.
Ball 4, so the Rockies have their first base runner. Tony Walters on 4 pitches jogs down to first. That's classic. And knowing, and you know Joe exceptionally well. Spilly and I have gotten to know him a little bit over the last few years, and we all know Buddy well. Can you imagine those two guys together?
My goodness.
Talk about quick-witted.
Oh man.
And you can tell
Sharp.
though, because of their personalities, why they've had success where they've been.
Oh, they're people, folks.
Yep.
They would be, Bowen, they would be successful in any type of vocation. They'd be successful as a manager in business, as a CEO, as a teacher, as a coach. It doesn't matter.
No.
Because they have transferable intellectual and people skills, both of those things at the highest level. Buddy was saying you don't want to play any sort of trivia from the 60s and 70s, sports, news, or otherwise, with Joe Madden.
Well, we were talking in his office yesterday with him, and he was reeling off names of people that he played with at Boulder Collegiates.
One of the things that the great Bus Campbell, who was a great pitching coach, associated for years with so many pitchers, and he had so much to do with the late great Roy Halladay's rise as a pitcher. He gave us Bus out of nowhere. Remember, he said, yeah, he lived at 5224 Grant Street.
He knew his address?
He knew his address.
He probably still sends a mail.
He just, the names he was rolling off his tongue, it was, now you understand why you don't play trivia against him.
Well, Buddy has great recall, and it's similar to me to what Jim Tracy had and has. Jim Tracy meets a guy one time, and he always remembers the name.
Yep.
1 ball, 1 strike on DJ. Rockies trying to get a 2-out knock here and break the ice against Yu Darvish, down 2-0, bottom of 3. Rockies have been out hit 4-0. Baseball's well hit to center field. Almora going back. It is caught. Wow. That was one heck of a grab by Almora Jr.
Thought there was no way he was going to be able to make that.
You thought there was no way, and he thought there was no way.
You can tell by the smile on the face when a player comes running in, he just made a miracle.
Took a run away, and at least a double from DJ, if not a triple.
Nothing, and the story here tonight is the Major League debut of David Bodie. He's a Denver kid. He graduated from Faith Christian, and I'm here with his parents, Therese and Bob. So you guys found out at 11:30 last night that your son was going to be making his big league debut. Can you try to bring me to that moment and explain what it was like for you?
A dream. It was just, I think I was half asleep going, what? It was, it's unexplainable. It wasn't like real. And of course, and then when I couldn't sleep, I figured it was real.
Yeah, she came in and woke me up and said, hey, David's on the phone. And I said, so I knew what it was, because he had always teased me about, you know, Dad, would your phone be on when I would get called up? And it wasn't, of course. So Teresa's was. But it was surreal. It was different.
So to be able to do it right here in Denver, a place that he grew up in, I mean, men can't write these stories. You guys, what is this like for you right now?
I can't stop crying. It's like, what is he doing out there? What is my son doing out there?
We really believe it's a God thing, you know, because we were expecting to go somewhere whenever he got called up, and we were totally surprised that this happened this weekend, and so it's just the coolest thing ever for us.
And then to be able to get a double in his first major league at bat. You guys, thank you so much for your time, and we'll be cheering him on. There's certain things that trump teams' loyalty, and I think that's one. So guys,
thank you very much.
All right, Taylor, thanks very much. There are a few moments as special, particularly in a baseball family. You think about all the games that not only Dad has coached, but Mom has driven their kids to through the years. He gets to the big leagues and he makes his debut at Coors Field, and he throws out a double to right center field as well. Here he comes up for the second time, and tonight's big hit is brought to you by Mako. A tip of the cap to the kid from Faith Christian High School, David Bodie. You know, you take an 18-foot scratch single there up the third base line, but he unloaded a double against Tyler Anderson.
That's more likely guy's first major league hit. It's not squared up, and it's a swinging bunt, or like Mark Stout used to call it, a chug a bunt.
Hadn't heard that before.
It's the only person that uses that term.
There's a strike on Bodie.
Now, the story I heard of Bodie in the minor leagues was he was in A ball. He wasn't even playing. And his manager was watching him take batting practice and was saying, look, the results weren't matching up. Some of the other guys were getting opportunities, but he really stuck his neck out for Bodie in the offseason and said, look, this kid can hit. He can barrel up a baseball. And it was the faith of a coach, a high A coach, a manager that said, give him an opportunity, and he took off from there.
That's foul. I think it's Billy. You and I have talked about this through the years. Huey, we've talked about this through years. Huey, in your case, you're an undrafted guy.
Yeah.
I mean, undrafted guy. I mean, in the hierarchy of guys, you're at the bottom of the barrel. And Spilly, you were a 7th round pick, right?
Yeah, but UC Santa Barbara, which...
Well, that elevates. It's really like you were the first pick of the draft. That aside, you have to have a godfather. It's one thing if you're Chris Bryant or somebody that's drafted extremely high. There's a lot of money wrapped up. Everybody knows who you are from the moment you get there. But if you're a middle round pick, this kid was an 18th round pick. Nothing's going to be. You have to earn everything, and you probably do have to have somebody with some clout who really believes in you.
And it's not even that. It's you're already in the organization for 4 years. You're disappearing.
And it's hard. I've been in those meetings as a rover too, when you feel strongly to say, I want this guy. I think he's better than what our reports have on him. But when you're standing in the room with the GMs, the assistant GMs, the scouting directors, there's 40 or 50 other people in there, you better be pretty confident in what you're saying.
Bodie's going to have to walk away there. He's called out on a strike at the knees. 2 outs, and that'll bring up Darvish.
Down on a little cut fastball on the Subaru Supermo. Tony just holds it, brings it right up for Jordan Baker. Strike 3. 4 strikeout tonight for Tyler.
Yeah, I love how you described that, Huey, because it takes some confidence and some guts when you're in that room and you come out and say, no, I really like this guy who was an 18th round pick, because they're, if the guy fails, they may come back and go, what were you saying?
Yeah, it's easy to jump on the #1 pick bandwagon.
I like Bryce Harper a lot.
I like him a lot. He's going to do great things.
Right.
But when you're talking about a guy that's drafted or, in the 15th, 18th, 20th round, or maybe not even drafted, he's a senior sign. But they're going to get less opportunities. But if you feel strongly, you stick your neck out there. When you have 45 other people looking at you, shaking their head, saying, really? Really? And that's what you're going to do?
And that's the beauty of this game. On every single ball field, in every single clubhouse, both sides, there have been players who have had guys that have backed them that we never give enough credit to. Somebody along the way where this player was going to disappear and be gone, and somebody encouraged him and pushed him forward.
That's strike 3. Darvish is gone. So a lead single by Ian Happ, and then Anderson gets the next 3. Rockies have to get the offense going. 2-0 Cubs in the 4th.
Back to the bottom of the third inning, because this game would not still be 2-0. It'd probably be 2-1. This catch that he made off the bat of DJ LeMahieu on the Subaru StatCast, it's impressive when you're talking about the distance that he covered in 87 feet, but then reaching up right at the last moment, hitting the wall. Yu Darvish is happy, but Almora, when he ran off the field, Spilly, what he was talking about, you know he made a spectacular catch.
Because you saw him smiling. I think one of the hardest plays for any outfielder to make is a ball over their shoulder. And what's important about an outfielder, if you want to cover the most amount of ground, you have to be able to take your head and your eyes off the baseball. You can't be looking backwards. If there's anybody that wants to go on the street and try running as fast as they can, looking forward, you'll fly. Try looking behind you. You'll slow down. And for Almora, he ran to his spot, looked at the last minute. That's how he was able to make that catch.
That was as good a catch as we may have seen this year.
So he traveled 25.6 feet per second to make that catch.
He's had to reroute a couple times tonight. And his speed has made up the difference. He's got to come quickly here. And Parra is retired. One out. Here comes Chuck Nasty.
Throughout the night, Yu Darvish has been able to command first pitch for strikes, and that was something that we mentioned earlier. It's been unlike Yu Darvish. He's typically a 65% first pitch strike. This year, well below 60%. And tonight, you can see the difference. You get first pitch strike on any major league hitter. 8 out of 12 so far in the batters he's faced. It changes in a bat. You'd love to face a guy knowing that you're in a 1-0 count.
Charlie was in an 0-2 count his first time up, fouled off a number of pitches, mostly fastballs, and then was caught looking at a fastball in the inside corner. He's going to have to work out of an 0-2 ditch right now. One out, nobody on. Anderson's thrown up some zeros, so it remains 2-0, and that was a slider down and in.
That's the kind of swings you get sometimes when you work ahead as a pitcher. Fans, Rockies gift cards are a great gift for all of the Rockies fans. Gift cards can be purchased multiple denominations and can be redeemed for game tickets at Rockies dugout stores or for some merchandise, concessions at Coors Field, a lot of different things. So look for the Rockies gift cards and buy some today.
See how aggressive Nolan Arenado is. A lot of off-speed pitches second time through for Yu Darvish.
That was not intended to be on the inside part of the plate. Do you think Nolan right now, fellas, goes up to the plate just looking away based on how he's been pitched so far in 2018?
I don't think so. What I think he's been able to do is look straight down the middle. And I think he's grown comfortable punching the ball opposite field. That was something he hadn't felt comfortable in the past. I think once you start getting 5-6 years in the big leagues, you have a real comfortable feel of what the strike zone is.
And also with his reputation, I think that helps too. With umpires, with pitchers, they start to give him the credit that he deserves, so they try to be more fine. And invariably, if they're more fine, the good hitters always get the hangers. Because the pitcher's like, oh no, I can't throw this one so good. You know, the guys that are hitting 220, 230 like myself.
Right on the corner, yeah.
Dotting the corners, everything spinning up there beautifully. I always said that. The great hitters always get the hang.
Yeah, the center cut fastball. Of course you're going to hit 30 home runs. Again, it's throwing it right down the middle for you.
I always thought you guys got hosed personally.
Yeah, thank you.
1 and 2 on Nolan, 2 outs, nobody on. And that's a base hit. That's exactly what he's been doing this year, Spill, just as you described. That stuff away, just kind of like a good tennis player, kind of punches a volley.
It's exactly right, and I'm telling you, there's no reason for Nolan to give up one side of the plate. When you start looking just outside part of the plate, you basically give away the inside portion, and that's what makes Nolan so special. I think he's looking right down the middle, and I think he believes and trusts his hands enough that it doesn't bother him to take the hit to right field anymore.
Remember the big question last year going into the season, or one of the questions, I guess, for Nolan, could he hit 300? Right? Because in 2015, he hit 287. 2016, 294. Last year, 309. Because of some of those hits right there. Just punching the ball the other way.
Walk rate went up a little bit also, and it's interesting that you say that, because I was thinking in my mind, again, 309 last year. If he continues with that approach, I mean, he's going to hit balls out of the ballpark. He's a RBI hog. He's going to get his ribbies. He'll hit, 315 or better. He'll increase that because of that approach.
Yeah. Using the whole field. So in this day and age of people shifting and moving and being on every pitch, moving 2 feet this way or that way, well, you can't do that when a guy's taking the ball the other way if they pitch him away.
Would that be a good start of a team right there? You put one guy in one corner and the other guy in the other corner, you'd be okay with that? Can you live with those two?
Bookends?
We'll give you those guys for the next 10 years.
That's basically what the Cubs have. The Cubs
They
have
Bryant at third. They'll play him in right field tonight. They have Rizzo at first. They control them for another several years. 1 ball, 1 strike on Story. 1 swing away from tying it up, perhaps. Inside corner, strike 3 on Trevor Story. That ends the inning. Nolan's left at first base. We go to the 5th. It remains 2-0 in favor of the Cubs. Attention everybody, go to AT&T Sportsnet RM on Twitter to cast your vote. Jenny will have the final tallies during our post-game show. Today is National Record Store Day. I thought it was like, this is Dougie Marino Day. Which was your favorite music medium? Vinyl, 8-track, as Huey still has in his pickup, cassette, or CD. Spilly, you go first. What do you got?
Look, I love vinyl. Had a nice collection growing up, but I could never play vinyl in the car that I drove. So it's hard to drive with a record player on your dash. So I grew up in the CD period. Still have Richard Marx's CD. Great
Okay.
CD.
And you're right. I did have the 8-track, and then I progressed.
This is to the gap in left center field for Almora Jr. I don't know if the Rockies have retired him yet.
They got him last night barely on a, remember they had that line out to left field last night that Desi had to catch. But so I went from the 8-track to the CD, or excuse me, the cassette. So I had to switch them out of my car. And then finally I was able to upgrade to the CD. So I'm going to go with the CD.
What was the first?
Yeah. And they make great frisbees when they get scratched up.
What was the first 8-track you had, Huey?
Peter Frampton.
Peter Frampton live?
Yeah, live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad company, bad company. Bad co.
My first cassette was Poison, the band, like the hair band. Every rose has its thorn, and I was hoping to get this R&B album by Belle Biv DeVoe. The song was Poison. It's the first time I got my first cassette. I bought the wrong album.
I think my favorite medium. This is slowly hit to third, and did he get the tag? He did. Double play. Almora Jr. just ran into an out. Thank you very much. And the heads-up play of the platinum glove, Nolan Arenado, turned an improbable double play.
That'll be the 24th double play the Rockies have turned this year. Not sure where Almora Jr. was going. The ball's in front of him.
Well, at some point it was going to catch up to the Cubs. We saw it last night. They had another one earlier today.
And even all that, you see Nolan, watch him on the Subaru Supermo, how he has to readjust on the transfer because the way that glove hit Almora kind of rattled the ball.
Chris Bryant takes a strike, 0-1.
That's a great rally killer for the Cubs because the Rockies, you're on the ropes. You have 1, 2, 3. You have Baez, then you have Bryant, then you have Rizzo. You're in scoring position. Just like that, the Rockies can get some momentum back, even though offensively they haven't really been doing much.
They have one hit. It's Nolan's single last inning. Todd at second base. Don't cross over on a ball in front, and don't run into an out.
And they got away with it last night. Remember?
Baez, yeah.
He crossed over. Just with a creative slide, eluded the tag of Nolan on a flip from Trevor Story.
But that play by Baez last night, I really felt changed the momentum of the game. That was a monster play last night because it led to several runs with 2 outs.
1 and 2 on Chris Bryant. And he's gone. So Anderson, even though he's dealt with some traffic, he's put up 4 straight zeros after giving up 2 in the first. If the Rockies can get on track offensively against Yu Darvish. 2-1. Yu Darvish will face Ryan McMahon to begin the bottom of the 5th inning. Time for the Lowe's whole team together. Rockies have hit 28 home runs this year. Charlie Blackmon with 7 leads the party, all out on the road. DJ's 5, all out on the road, and then Ian Desmond, Trevor Story both with 4. And this is a fair ball and an easy play for Anthony Rizzo. So Ryan McMahon for the 2nd time tonight hits it right at the star first baseman for the Cubs. That'll bring up Mike Tauchman, who'll fly ball to right. Rockies have had just 2 base runners. A Walters walk in the 3rd and the 2-out single to right by Nolan in the 4th inning. The hardest ball they've hit was DJ's, and that was the wonderful catch we saw made by Albert Almora Jr. deep in center field, a la Willie Mays, with his back to home plate. Willie's was done in the World Series against the Indians and Vic Wertz at the old Polo Grounds, where it went out to 505 feet in center field.
Not only that, once he caught it, he spun around, threw home, cap falling off.
How many home runs were hit out of that ball field to dead center, Doug? Because I saw a ball hit last night at Chase Field by Franchi Cordero.
He would have had a chance to get out of the Polo Grounds.
And they ruled it as 495 feet. 490 feet. So come on. Hit the middle of the scoreboard. Dead center.
Rockies will see Franchi Cordero beginning Monday. He just came off the disabled list late in the last Padres series here at Coors Field. Huey, you and I saw him working out when we were in San Diego. That's a good looking athletic player.
Yeah, he was going 1st to 3rd, running the bases, tagging up from 3rd, going home. That was on a Sunday. Oh, excuse me, on a Thursday on the getaway day. That day game he was working out.
Tauchman draws a walk. That'll bring up Walters. Tony walked and was sacrificed by Tyler Anderson to 2nd in the 3rd inning. And the Rockies off to a slow start at home, just 2-5. And if you're wondering, man, I can't remember the Rockies not hitting at home. They always hit at home. No, folks, they've gone through periods like this, especially to start the year. And as recent as last April through 7 home games, the Rockies had scored just 24 runs. This year through 7 home games, not appreciably better, but they have 25. So last year was, even worse. You better get back with that kid behind the plate. We talked about it last night. Whether there's a left-handed batter in the box or not, he's going to throw the baseball.
And watch Mike. He gave a false break and got out pretty far, and then just became flat-footed.
Got to work your way back to the bag, don't you?
Yeah, once that ball crosses home plate, I mean, he gets back there on the Subaru Supermo, but you saw how he just stopped. And then with Contreras behind the plate, boy,
What did you teach, Huey, when you were an instructor?
So you get your secondary lead, and then you kind of have a little momentum on your right leg when that ball's crossing the plate, but as soon as nothing happens, you use that right leg to push off to head back towards the bag.
Center fielder Almora, 2 outs.
A little teaching moment here as we go back to that play just a moment ago with Mike Tauchman. So watch as he gets the secondary lead. Everything's good with that, even with the false break, but then he just stops, okay, and almost stands up a little bit. But he has a quick feet to be able to get back. So even though you decide not to go, you still have to stay on the balls of your feet. Your knees are still bent.
Let me ask you something there. As Tyler Anderson steps up with 2 outs, he did something on his secondary which you don't see a lot of. He actually crossed over into almost a running type of position.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think maybe more was a false break than a true secondary.
Okay.
A false break meaning he was thinking he was going to steal the bag.
on the Vegas native, Tyler Anderson, product of the University of Oregon. That first recruiting class when baseball returned to Eugene. The Rockies eventually took him in the first round. Studious and serious, I think, two adjectives that would apply with Tyler Anderson.
And you know what? It goes back to his time in Oregon, and he always credits a pitching coach at Oregon by the name of Andrew Checketts. Andrew Checketts ended up becoming the head coach for UC Santa Barbara, but there was something about every single bullpen that there was, you had to have intent. We always talk about intent in everything you do, and it was from this coach that he had, and just like we were talking with Bodie earlier, another coach having faith in a player. That coach and what he instilled in Tyler Anderson is something he still uses today.
3-1 is the count on Anderson. He'll have another take side, you would think. Better
Yes,
have, right?
yes.
Unless you feel like hitting a homer. But you better hit a homer.
That's outside. He had the take sign, and ball 4. Yu Darvish has walked the pitcher. He walked Topman with 1 out, and here comes the Rockies' DJ LeMahieu. He's been one of their 3 best hitters all season long. One of their 3 best hitters for several years now. DJ has 41 instances this year already where the balls come off his bat at more than 95 miles an hour. We've discussed this before, that anything above 95 miles an hour is categorized as hard hit. That leads baseball. He had 40 coming in, and the ball coming off his bat that Almora stole the double or triple from him was number 41. He's got 6 more than Mike Moustakas, big Jose Abreu. How about that?
So I've been yelling about these numbers with StatCast, and I've asked them, I said, okay, I want to know, I appreciate these numbers, but I also want to know how many swings, how often is DJ swinging and making this hard contact? And he leads baseball in that regard too. So it's not like one of those things where you see swing after swing, occasionally you run into one and some guys get their name on the board. When he swings the bat, he barrels it.
Oh, we saw him barrel that one to center field. He got robbed on.
And because he's pulled the baseball this year a little bit more than we've seen in the past, he's hit balls out of the ballpark. He's got 5 already. We're 3 weeks into April. It's affected how teams align defensively. We're not seeing the radical shifts. The only team that radically shifts now against him that we've seen so far is the Padres. I mean, Chicago, they're basically playing him straight up.
There's a big gap in right center field. We know what he does with that ball.
2 on and 2 outs for LeMahieu. Rockies down 2-0. And DJ drives his ball to deep left center field. It's going to drop in, and 1 hop off the wall, over the wall. That's a bad break. Anderson would have scored standing up. He'll have to stop at third base. DJ LeMahieu with a double to make it 2-1.
You see by that kind of wry smile on DJ's face that he knows that he should have had 2 RBIs. Probably should have 3 on the night. If it wasn't for that catch, they throw a slider, just sits and spins, and he drives this. I like the way that he gets that full body connected. And it's unfortunate it hits off that hard warning track and bounds into the stands.
See if Parra can come through here. Here's a chance to give the Rockies the lead. Just the 2nd hit for the Rockies tonight. And this is up the middle. Parra comes through. LeMahieu cuts the bag at third. He's coming to the plate. Rockies have taken the lead. Gerardo Parra coming through.
Great to hear the Rockies fans cheering.
Drown out those Cubs fans.
Exactly. Hey, take advantage of some walks. You walk Mike Togman, then you walk the pitcher. Gerardo Parra right back up the originator.
And Gerardo's been struggling at the plate. This is huge. Big team at bats, Billy.
Huge team at bat. And the Rockies came in 8 for 60 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. 2 knocks this inning. And it's kind of playing with some of the numbers that Yu Darvish has dealt with this season. 3rd time through the lineup, over a .540 batting average against him.
And here's Charlie. Couple strikeouts, so payback on the mind to Charlie Blackmon. One looking, one swinging. Big hit from Gerardo Parra.
This is his 3rd and 4th RBI of the year for Gerardo.
Last year he drove in 71, a career high.
And against right-handers on the season for Gerardo, I think you might be surprised. He was hitting below 150. He was 6 for 41 against righties. It's a big knock for Gerardo.
Well, as I said, on a daily basis of late, those numbers will change.
They will change. And I think last night, Huey, we saw this at bat that Gerardo had at the end of the game. It was a left on left. We were talking about how he's spinning out. He was 0 for 3 on the night. It was left on left against Mike Montgomery. Punches it into the outfield. We said, oh, there you go. Sometimes it's one of those tough at bats that can get mechanically synced up.
Well, even the 2 fly balls that he hit his first couple times up, they were to center field. So you could tell the intent was, man, I gotta stay up the middle.
Gerardo takes off, and Contreras not going to get him. Parra with a stolen base. Now the Rockies' turn to be aggressive on the base pass. 2nd bag this year for Parra.
Hey, why not? You got Yu Darvish on the ropes a little bit. It took a little bit of a double clutch by Contreras. Left hand gets in there on the Subaru Super Mode just in front of the tag.
And the whole key is
Keep
maintaining
those
contact.
fingers on the bag.
Ribby out there for Charlie. 2-1 pitch. Jordan Baker says it got the inside corner and looked to on the Subaru strike zone. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Blackmon leading the club with 14 driven in. Drove in 104 last year. 103 from the leadoff spot. That hadn't been done before. Down the line. Oh, thank God, Tony. Tony jumped, but the ball still contacted him.
He's playing it cool, like it didn't hurt.
Tony never misses a workout. He's in the gym every day.
All the time. This is a swing from Charlie, too, as it catches Tony. That they had been feeding him a lot of pitches down and in, that he wanted to make sure he just didn't allow that to continue to happen.
Two. 3-2 with Nolan on deck. Big gap in left center field. Ball 4. 2 men aboard for Nolan Arenado. 3rd walk in the inning.
We're going to have to get on the phone out to the bullpen. Jim Hickey, Lester Strode, the bullpen coach.
An old buddy of yours, Lester Strode.
Well, Lester's been there, I think, as long as the Billy Goat has. I think it's his 20-something year with the Cubs. Yeah.
Be the left-hander Dunsing, one of 3 left-handers. We saw 2 of them last night, Montgomery and Wilson. Nolan got the Rockies' first hit last inning, a punch single to right. And this, you can just see body language-wise, Darvish not the same cat right now.
Can't find that strike. First pitch strike is something we were pointing out. And for Yu Darvish, there's times where you can see mechanically, he's a big guy, 6'5". There's a reason why he's throwing from the stretch. He's trying to simplify his mechanics, be more in line, and they can get out of sorts quickly.
1-0. Left field, base hit. Parr around third. Haps throw to the plate is not in time. 4-2 Colorado. Arenado with his 9th RBI. All of this with 2 outs.
Charlie had the big walk, and then Nolan off the end of the bat. But it drops it right over the infield. One hop, Hap, strong throw the plate the whole way. Gerardo's being waved around by Stu Cole. He's a little head first dive, and then I like what he does afterwards. He signifies he's safe. I'm there.
Taking a snow angel at home plate today.
9th man to hit in the inning, Trevor Story. 4-2 Colorado.
And up to this inning, they'd only had 1 hit, 2 base runners.
Think about this too, boys. Coming into tonight, better than 51% of the runs scored by the Rockies had come via the home run. That was the highest rate in baseball in runs produced with the reliance on the home run. And Huey had talked about the fact that the Rockies batting average with runners in scoring position, Spill, you've mentioned it, way down so far this year. So to see the Rockies put a 4th spot up by putting, they were aided by walks greatly, but putting hits together at key times, great to see.
And that's how you kind of put a 4-run inning in. And it's also very demoralizing to the opposition. And sometimes those home runs are beautiful, they're great, we all love them, but it's like so quick it's over with. That you don't have the sustained pressure defensively.
Well, I think when you have 3, 4, 5 guys throwing out hard hit balls and getting the results, as opposed to, okay, one guy hit it in the seats as a pitcher, maybe you can dismiss that guy made a mistake, as opposed to, man, everybody's hitting me.
Or you can't find the strike zone. I think Cardinal sin here is walking a pitcher.
Story to left. This will run to the corner. Blackman will score. Nolan will get a stop sign from Stu Cole on the Story double. Make it 5-2. Here come the Rockies. And there goes probably Yu Darvish.
Yeah, that's 10 RBIs on the season for Trevor. 89-mile-an-hour little cutter, maybe a backup slider that didn't do anything, and Trevor did not miss it. I like the first pass he had at this at bat. 94, he let the dog hunt right there. He was just like, okay, I'm going to swing at it. Then he gets the backup slider, hits it. Charlie could just trot home, doesn't have to worry about that quad at all.
Yu Darvish cruising into the 5th. Will not see the end of the 5th. 5-2 Colorado. lead at 5-2, and the inning began about 20 minutes ago. The Rockies trailed 2-0. They had one hit, and now it'll be Brian Dunsing making his 10th appearance for the Cubs, and he'll face Ryan McMahon, who started the inning by rolling over to first baseman Anthony Rizzo. He has a chance to throw out two ribbies here with a base hit. At third base is Nolan. Trevor at second. Man coming off a two-hit night yesterday, single and a double.
Well, McMahon swung at the first pitch of this inning, Drew. It's the part it's amazing to think about just how everything unfolded.
You talked about third time through with a 570, 538 average for you, Darvish. Rockies were 4 for 4 third time through, including a walk, but on the year, he's 11 for 17 against him now. So it's gone up even more. It's 647.
Those numbers are crazy. Crazy bad if you're you, Darvish. That pitch underneath the hands has been problematic for McMahon. 1-2. See if Ryan can make an in at bat adjustment here against Brian Dunsing. Two and two. Contreras blocked it.
For a lefty too, facing Dunsing, you can eliminate the changeup so he becomes a fastball curveball pitcher. Fastball anywhere from 90 to 92. Then the curveball we saw a moment ago was 81, but he can drop it down into the 70s.
And this ball bounced to second. And Baez will throw to first. The Rockies send 10 to the plate. Half of them score. They turn a 2-0 deficit into a 5-2 advantage as we move to the 6th inning on a chilly night at 20th and Blake. Tyler settled in. 4 straight zeros after giving up 2 in the first, but this shouldn't come as a surprise. Tyler, in his first 20 starts at Coors Field, has fashioned a .338 ERA. By far the best ever for a Rockies pitcher. Number 2 on that list, Ubaldo Jimenez. Jason Marquis, may be a surprise for many of you what he did at Coors Field. And Jhoulys Chacín, I know he always pitched well here. He's now with Milwaukee. And of course, Jorge De La Rosa, who won more games than anybody at Coors Field. But Tyler Anderson, you're not afraid of pitching in downtown Denver. You've got Anthony Rizzo, Wilson Contreras, and Ian Happ here in the 6th. This is the inning for him.
Yes.
Get through this and then hand the baton to the bullpen.
74 pitches, and there was even some question last inning is, well, would he hit? They're down by a couple runs, but then when you got that runner on, you could allow him to go ahead and hit. He worked out the walk. So for Tyler Anderson, as much as it was a little bit of a struggle from the first inning, he was able to wiggle out of a couple innings, and then he was helped by that double play last inning. I think that was a really turning point of this affair.
There's a bunt. Tony Walters jumps on it, spins, and fires to 6'3" Ryan McMahon for the out on Anthony Rizzo.
That wasn't easy, and I'm going to tell you why. Because once he called for this ball and gets ready to throw, his mask, he didn't take his mask off, so his mask kind of got twisted. And so was he able to see? Just watch the mask as he gets ready to go and make the throw. See how it partially came off?
It's a no-look throw from the catcher.
Yeah.
That's a great observation, Huey.
So watch right here, mask. Oh no, where is it? It's like those masks you used to wear at Halloween as a kid when you couldn't see as you're out trick-or-treating.
Wilson Contreras.
Those were safe.
Ball one. Yeah. I don't know if there's a quicker guy coming out of the chute than Tony Walters.
Maybe the guy at the plate. I mean, Wilson Contreras, maybe he's the only other athlete that I've seen behind the plate like that, like a Tony Walters. But this middle infielder. And I still will argue that the play Tony Walters made a couple weeks ago, the sliding play, is the best play I've ever seen from a catcher.
2-0 on Contreras.
And that was a drag bet on Ozzie Albies, who I've already mentioned how much fun Ozzie Albies is to watch.
Yeah, so it wasn't some guy that was just barely chugging along down to first.
That's a strike. That's straight Little League there. You don't see that much in the big leagues.
No.
The wave the bat. 3-0, going to wave the bat
I
in
wonder
front
if
of the
they're
plate like
saying
a
that to him right now. Like, hey, what are you doing?
This is big leagues.
Come on.
Not appreciated, I assume. 3-2.
I would say it's frowned upon just a skosh.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was Jordan Baker, the home plate umpire, that goes, hey, come on. It's a friendly reminder.
See if he can come all the way back. Anderson 3-2. Ground ball to second. He did. DJ with the sidearm flip, 2 outs. You know, I have seen a bounce in the step. It's almost palpable. Tyler Anderson, after Nolan made that play, because the inning starts with a leadoff double by Almora. You got Baez, who's hot as anybody in the game. Bryant's on deck, Rizzo behind him, and you may be going, oh man.
Instead, what's he done?
Instead, he gets 2 outs in an improbable way, and immediately after that, he strikes out Bryant. He's got Rizzo and Contreras, 2 outs. He's got Happ at the plate. Ahead of him, 1 strike. Now 2 strikes. Here's that play that we were alluding to in the 5th inning. Leadoff double and base running error.
And it
but
finally,
you take advantage.
Yeah, and finally it catches up to you if you're the Cubs. They'd been running pretty wild. And then he runs into that play. Nolan tags him, throws out. Now all of a sudden there's nobody on and 2 outs.
1-2 on Happ. Happ last year burst on the scene. 23 home runs as a rookie. 1-2. Fouled off.
Bit of a quick pitch from Tyler.
And you can tell the difference. I mean, we mentioned earlier when Tyler was trying to slow the game down, the pace in between pitches. Right now, he's grabbing the ball and going.
I shorted him a home run, by the way. 24 home runs.
23, 24.
Pretty good either way, right? High fly ball to right field. And Para has room, makes the catch. It's a 1-2-3 sixth inning. Well done by Tyler Anderson. The Rockies have a 5-2 lead. Innings, allowing just the 2 runs he relinquished in the first. That's a terrific job by Anderson. When at the outset it looked a little shaky. Brian Dunsing remains in the ballgame. His curveball is low on Mike Totman. Jake McGee is up in the Rockies' pen. Two on Totman. Fly ball to right and a walk and a run scored for Mike Walters, and then a pinch hitter after Tony.
I know that Pat Vallekas is getting loose either in the batting cage or he's already done. Oh, he's done. He's ready. Getting that bat handle hot from the fire that's right there.
Two and two. Breaking ball, which was supposed to be down and away and buried, was up and in.
Rick tried to kind of stick his elbow out there to. I'll go ahead and wear it.
Yeah, I got a pat. It was Totman's walk last thing started the rally. So he'll bounce back and take a quality of bat against Yu Darvish.
And of course, Yu Darvish is going to lament all night long walking Tyler Anderson. Good swing by Mike.
The frustrating part as a bench player, and I know for Michael Totman, just watching this, is he's had several pitches that he's fouled off. When you're in a good spot, when you're a guy that gets an opportunity to play every day, you're not fouling off 5-6 pitches a night.
It tells you the timing's off.
But it's also instant feedback for a player that gets 2-3 at bats. You can tell, okay, why am I off? Am I early? Am I late? and most likely you're late.
That's usually the root of most problems as a hitter. You're late getting ready.
And Topman, good at bat, draws a walk to lead off the 6th inning.
Streaks were made to be broken. Make history and win $5.6 million. Download Beat the Streak today in the App Store or at MLB.com/BTS, as in Beat the Streak.
Walters a walk and a fly ball to center field. Big jump for Topman. Hard for a left-handed batter to see. Huey, if you were in from the right side and saw that jump on first move on Dunston, you probably pull your bat back, don't you?
Yeah, you would, but you don't see that until it's too late, and you really don't hear anything too, because who's yelling if somebody takes off? Because the catcher's block, it's going to be the first baseman. Well, with Tony in his right ear being covered, you don't hear that.
He takes off again, and Contreras not going to come close to getting him. He had to throw from his knees. I think some of this, fellas, is tape study.
Yep, he has something, Drew. You're exactly right. Those 2 times that it's as soon as the foot goes up, Topman's taking off.
Well, that's not hit, Tony. All right, watch this. How does it miss him?
Glad it did.
Yeah.
So when we tell folks that, you know, so-and-so watches a lot of tape and guys are in, you're wondering why do guys get to the ballpark at 1 o'clock in the afternoon for a 7:10 start? Those are some of the things they're doing. And it's not just studying the starting pitcher. They're studying the pen. Coaches are studying the pen. They're studying moves. Tony Diaz is looking at different times to the plate, different idiosyncrasies. And when you pick something up, the Rockies evidently just took advantage. Topman, huge jumps twice, and now he's in scoring position.
With teams with greater margins, better teams, 90 feet can be all the difference in the world for a win. The difference between a win and a loss. So 90 feet right here, maybe there's an opportunity. Tony moves him over to third. And finally hits him.
Now he got hit. Now it's first and second. Curveball, it's nowhere close. Tony wears it. Bummer is it hit him right on that right elbow. Mid-70s curveball.
Double switch. The Cubs are going to bring in Pedro Strop.
Be a little contrast to Brian Dunston.
Yes.
Pedro Strop, many moons ago, was raised a Rocky.
As a shortstop.
You were playing with Pedro Strop at one point.
That's right. You would hit the hot dog vendor from short.
That's why he became a pitcher. 5-2 Colorado.
for the Rockies. That 5-run 5th inning put them ahead of the Cubs 2-0. Get on-demand access to the rooftop with the Rooftop Ballpark Pass, $96 for 8 games. It includes concession credit. Choose the days and redeem the pass from your phone. Go to Rockies.com/pass for more information. A little double switch for the Cubs. Now in left field, Kyle Schwarber. On the hill, Pedro Strop.
And there's the bunt attempt. Rizzo is going to try to get the force at third, and he will. Rizzo came all the way down the line and fielded Valleca bunt, which in a perfect world goes to the third base side. And Rizzo was literally 15 feet away from the batter's box when he fielded it.
But just look where Rizzo catches this ball, right here, okay? I mean, he's right there, and if you bunt it to third, who's got to field it? It would have to be the third baseman, Bodie. Instead, they get the lead runner. That's why when first and second, you bunt to third. With the runner on first, you bunt to first.
Here's LeMahieu, unloaded a double, a ground rule double, which at the time was really unfortunate because instead of tying up the game, it gave the Rockies 1 run, but Anderson had to stop at third, and he would have scored very easily. Ball was hit about 415 feet by DJ. Pedro Strop, the last 5 years, he's in his 6th year with the Cubs, has been one of the kind of the unsung heroes out of the bullpen. He's had a sub-3 ERA every year for Chicago.
And he's been asked to do multiple things in that bullpen.
Yeah, he's a setup guy. He's saved some games for them over the years.
He's pitched in the 6th inning.
He's been good in the postseason also for them.
Yes, he has. He's, you know, we talk about Chris Russell being a Swiss Army knife. I think that's kind of what he is for Joe Madden in his bullpen.
Yeah, good call.
Except for he throws a lot harder.
Yeah, he's always had the big arm. As Billy just said, he can hit the hot dog vendor from the
from shortstop. Yeah. He's good at it too.
2-2 on DJ. Fly ball to right. Absolutely burglarized in the 3rd inning on a great running catch by Albert Almora Jr. And then in the 5th inning, he said, "You're not going to get this one." Runners going. Ground ball. Oh, that's a great pickup by Bodie. So DJ retired. That's the 2nd out. Runners move up. Let's see if Parra can come through again.
Well, Bodie's going towards the bag as this ball is being hit. He has to reroute. It's like Siri rerouting you. But he makes his short hop pick. Easy throw, but the short hop, I mean, that's more of more of an in-between hop.
It's a nice play.
It was a really nice play.
Well, it comes back to whether it's mental error from Pat Valleca putting the bunt down towards the wrong direction, because that's an opportunity for the Rocks. You have 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. Changes the complexion. Maybe the infield's drawn in.
I like this matchup for Gerardo. Been scuffling a little bit, but he came up with a big 2-run hit last inning. Time for our Built for Baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. And this ball was smoked up the middle to drive in the Rockies' 2nd and 3rd runs with 2 outs in the 5th. And then Parra would come around to score. Beautiful slide here. Chance for a couple more ribbies. 0-2. The RBIs for Gerardo, who was first since March 30th.
This is the 2nd game of the season.
Rockies have 4 hits with runners in scoring position tonight. The most since early April in San Diego. 4 for 7 tonight, runners in scoring position. Walter's hit by a pitch. He's at 3rd. Valleca is at 2nd. 2 outs, bottom of the 6th. Jake McGee will handle the top of the 7th for Colorado.
It probably means Otto in a perfect world would get the 8th, and then Wade Davis against his former club in the 9th.
And Parra's foul tip is held. That'll end the inning. Rockies leave 2 in scoring position. Going to the 7th at Coors Field. 5-2 Colorado. Here's our Kubota pitching performance of the night. 6 innings of 2-run work from Tyler Anderson. He gave up those 2 runs in the first inning. 3 hits in the first inning. He allowed only 3 hits over the next 5. Ends up with 5 strikeouts, checking 6 strikeouts, and a couple of walks. Tyler Anderson, fellas, got stronger as the night went on.
Really did. I think if you're looking back at the first inning, you had a weak single to lead off the game. Javi Baez with 2 strikes, and then you get through pretty much the heart of the lineup with Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, and Contreras jumps all over the first pitch in that first inning. And then from that point forward, there's a couple hiccups, but the Cubs kind of helped out Tyler Anderson to get him that confidence and that strength to push him forward.
10th ball game on the year for Jake. Almost hitting 111 against him in the early going.
Addison Russell steps in. Strikeout and a pop to first. Fastball in there for strike 1.
Not only a low batting average of 111, the whip is .60.
Russell fouls that off, so Jake's ahead 1-2. Two on the 24-year-old Floridian, Addison Russell. 2-2. To short. Story will throw out his counterpart. 1 gone. bring up the kid from Faith Christian High School making his major league debut tonight, David Bodie. If you missed it in the second inning, in his first big league at bat, he doubled to deep right center field. Called out on strikes in the fourth.
We're talking about getting drafted out of junior college, and then our good friend on the radio side, Jerry Schimmel, was helping out over at Colorado Christian, and they were trying to recruit him to come there. And he said, well, I want to see what happens in the draft. I want to see what my options are possibly. And so he decided to wait. And obviously, you know that he was drafted. But the kind of the interesting thing, how he found out about it, he and his brother were going on a mission trip. And they were on a plane. They're getting ready to fly in. And a plane earlier that day, or right before him, had ended up crashing, and so they had to reroute somewhere else. So they were literally at another airport that had limited services, and so he found out on the internet that he was drafted because he didn't have phone service.
Went in the 18th round to the Cubs. Here's the 1-2 inside. Let's check in with Taylor. She's got a little bit more about the local kid. Taylor?
Yeah, so actually he found out the next day he was drafted, and they were on a mission trip to Kenya. But you guys, a really cool story about him. His older brother bought a Cubs hat the day that he was drafted. His brother was in America and said, I'm not going to get a new hat until you make it to the show. And so the first thing he did today was go and buy a new Cubs hat, and that is the hat he is wearing as he watches his brother debut.
Interesting, and I think we noted earlier that Dad is a lifelong Cubs fan. And there is the head coach at Stanley Lake High School.
We've said it before, Drew. I mean, we have kids that play sports, and I couldn't even imagine them watching my son play, or and the nerves that are going through his body right now. No question.
McGee strikes out Bodie with a high fastball, 2 outs. That'll bring up Kyle Schwarber. Well, I remember distinctly, and this was such a great surprise, that the Rockies organization did one spring training when George was still doing the games, Frazier, and Parker was in the Rockies organization, and he came trotting in from the bullpen in a spring training game that we were televising, and George had no idea it was going to happen. And you know, it was very emotional, understandably. I mean, I think all of us were shedding a tear. Hot shot, nice pickup, McMahon, great feed. McGee works a 1-2-3, 7th. That's a terrific play by Ryan McMahon. Came up as a third baseman. Pretty nifty over there at first also. Rockies +3 on the scoreboard. Let's check our Cooney Lexus look back. DJ LeMahieu unloads a ground rule double to get the Rockies on the board with 2 outs, and then Gerardo Parra, clutch single up the middle to give the Rockies a 3-2 lead. They weren't done. There's a base hit. Parra scores, and then Trevor Story drives one to the left field corner. 5-run 5th inning. Time for the largest single inning for the Rockies offensively this year. It's the middle of their order in the 7th against Pedro Strop. Charlie Blackmon got a 1-0 count. Charlie tonight 0 for 2 and a walk, scored in the 5th inning. Arenado and Story, and hopefully others to follow. Strop with that 94-mile-an-hour fastball up and in, 2-1.
We've noticed a lot of pitches inside to Charlie Blackmon from Chicago the last couple days. I think with Charlie, they don't want to let him get extended. I know they're trying to pound him inside. And Charlie typically is not a guy that hits the ball opposite field. He likes to pull the ball. He is a straight pull hitter for me.
But what happens if you don't get it inside and then it leaks back over? Those are the ones that get hit in the second deck.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Charlie for the 3rd time tonight. No, that's foul ball. For a moment, that was a swing and a miss. Really quickly, you describe him as a pull hitter. When he does pull a lot of baseballs, unusual description for a guy that just won a batting title.
I like it when a guy just uses his strength. Now Charlie will occasionally punch it off his field. We see it, but it allows him to keep people honest. But Charlie, at his best, is pulling the baseball.
So a leadoff walk to Blackmon. Here comes Nolan. 2 hits and 3 at bats tonight. Last night he threw out 3 hits. So the extra work that he got to do, got a little mini spring training for him during the 5-game suspension. He said he felt great coming back from Salt River Fields, doing a lot of extra swings on backfields with extended spring training going on. He's invigorated. I don't want to say reinvigorated because he's always ready to go, but he was invigorated by playing with those young guys. And just so you know, you guys can attest to this certainly better than I can. You go down and you see, you know, a lot of teenagers and young players that have not been put on assigned yet on a, you know, low A roster. And you think, well, is the velocity way down? Actually, the velocity probably up at that level. Certainly, their command's not the same, but he's seeing legitimate arms when he goes down there.
That's the key. I mean, all those guys are throwing hard. It just might not know where it's going.
You definitely don't have to worry about off-speed pitch.
Yeah, that's what they're working on.
One and 2 on Arenado. Stroke's a big leg kick guy, and ordinarily up 3 runs, keep the foot on the gas. May think Charlie may run. He's not running with that quad, not yet. Gonna get that thing back to close to 100% before he starts looking to swipe bases.
Well, and with Nolan, nobody out. I think all of that combined, but probably more of the leg than anything.
This is slowly hit to 3rd, and again, Bodie, as you always teach, Huey, work ground up. He did there. Moving to scoring position is Charlie with 1 out.
He really buried his head too. Watch that ball all the way into the glove. Natural tendency a lot of times the infielder when they're coming to charging is they want to just peek to see where first base is. And I tell kids all the time that they put that base in the ground for a reason with the peg. It's not moving.
It's not going anywhere.
No, it's not. It's not going to gather some legs and walk off.
You really have a story if that occurred.
Right?
Here's Trevor. 1 for 3, an RBI double.
That was a big double too, because that was really it was the dagger for you, Darvish.
Darvish's line, 4 2/3, 5 runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. And he allowed only 2 base runners his first 4 innings.
That was the first time this year. We were talking about maybe stringing 3 hits together. That's the first time this year that the Rockies have had 6 consecutive guys reach base. The previous high was 4.
It was good to see. What I like in the 2 ensuing innings, this one we're watching unfold, and the 6th inning, they're continuing to apply pressure. Now, they did score in the 6th, but they had an opportunity, and there's an opportunity here to add on. Here, Jordan Baker saying that's in. 3-1. Yeah, I'm looking over at Buddy, and we've all been around him in the past quite a bit when he was the manager of the Padres for 8 years, and we're with him every day, the better part of 7 months. And if he was an engineer and the train all of a sudden lost its brakes, he's the guy I'd want being the engineer. He'll find a way to get that thing stopped, right? No panic.
No.
Last night, bad night at the office. Same demeanor today when he showed up. 3-1. Rizzo may have a play.
He's drifting back.
2 outs.
And to your point, Drew, I think that's what guys look at too in the dugout. I know a lot of times people say, oh, I'd like to see the manager, you know, Earl Weaver all the time. It might work in football, but it does not work in baseball.
Joe Madden's going to the mound. You're going to get a left-hander for Ryan McMahon, Mike Tauchman, Tony Walters, the 2 due after that. So Strop walks off. Blackman at second, 2 outs in the 7th. The Rockies leading.
On the Cubs. 2018 has special theme date ticket packages for everyone, including Star Wars Night, Brewfest, Faith Day, and the newest theme nights, Beatles Tribute and Margaritaville Tribute. Visit Rockies.com/theme dates for more information. And with 3 left-handers in a row. They're going to go to Justin Wilson, the left-hander, the one of 3 that the Cubs have out in their bullpen. Justin pitched last night at inning. Did give up a run on 1 hit, couple walks and a strikeout. Threw 23 pitches last night.
He scuffled a little bit last night before finally getting the last out. McMahon takes a strike. McMahon doubled against Wilson in the 9th yesterday. And would score a run for Colorado.
Wilson's been the guy out of the bullpen for the Cubs, really struggling with command. Nearly 23% walk rate. You saw the numbers, 10 walks in a limited amount of innings. Be patient if you're Ryan McMahon, even though you had a hit off him last night.
Off the plate, 1 ball, 1 strike. That was a nice thing to see about Tyler Anderson as he got stronger as the evening progressed. Tyler, who had some walk issues coming in his first 4 starts, walked only 2, struck out 6, 3-1 strikeout to walk ratio. You got to love that. And after giving up 3 hits in the first inning, only 3 thereafter. 1-1. Good take, 2-1. Way inside, 3-1. That's kind of what we saw last night.
Well, and this was the first guy he faced last night too, was Ryan. Last night was a different story though, because the Cubs were up 16-4 when he came into the game.
And a walk. That'll bring up Topman. So the last inning plus, Wilson has walked 3.
So anytime you're facing a reliever or a pitcher that's dealing with some command issues, you can really focus on one location. You can pick out your spot.
The Rockies now have been recipients of 7 walks and a hit batter in the game.
And you could hear, as that pitch was being delivered, you could hear Stu Cole yelling to Charlie to get back, because there was a back pick that was called between Contreras and Addison Russell.
And that's when the defense is going to try to pick up their pitcher when they know, hey, getting it out might be difficult for him right now.
Topman has walked twice tonight. 2 outs. Charlie's at second. McMahon at first. Topman a smidgen tardy for you, Billy?
So, yeah, and that's why we're mentioning the amount of foul balls tonight. It's really hard for a guy with limited opportunities to really feel like you have to start your swing sooner. Because it feels like you're coming out of your comfort zone. But at this level, when you're facing 93, 94, 95, you have to start sooner than your mind is telling you to.
2-2. Just missed spotting that fastball.
So people then will say, Billy, you know, how does that change?
Well, you just have to, at times, you know, it's a great point. There's times where you shorten your swing, whether you get rid of a leg kick, you choke up, or just start it so soon that you feel uncomfortable, and watch how slow the ball looks to you.
And called strike 3 on the inside corner. The Rockies will leave 2 on, and we move to the top of the 8th. Adam Ottavino will be aboard with the Rockies ahead 5-2. Vino will have the top of the Cubs order. Almora Jr., Baez, and Bryant. And what he has done so far in 10 appearances this year has been remarkable. He has struck out 22. He has walked 1. The league is hitting .065 against him.
And for Adam last year, it was the walks that really hurt him. Just didn't have that command, you know, really of any pitch. It would come and go. Sometimes he'd have the fastball, sometimes he'd have the slider, but very rarely did he have the combination of both of them.
And that's something he has done with great regularity. Throw a first pitch strike. Typically, especially right on right, it's a slider. And he's ahead 0-1 on Almora Jr.
I love that you pointed out first pitch strike. For me, it was that was the problem for Otto last year.
That's a strike. 0-2.
I want you to think about this, Drew. When you're throwing a first pitch strike last year for Otto, it was 44% of the time. That's not good. You're constantly putting a hitter in an advantage count.
See, I love that he does that. That just missed because, you know, everything to a right-handed hitter with the slider is hard right to left, and then he throws that mid-90s two-seamer moving the other direction. Back in on you. That pitch didn't miss by much. Hard on the ground to a retreating man. That was not an easy play, Huey, was it?
It wasn't. Remember we saw Pat the other night in Pittsburgh when he's kind of fallen down and had to make that double play? Well, it's almost similar here for Ryan. Watch how he catches this as his momentum's going back. He almost falls backwards. He doesn't, and then gives Otto plenty of time to catch that ball, take a couple steps before he steps on first base.
It's almost rare that a major league hitter put a ball in play against Adam Ottavino so far. 6% of the baseballs have been put in play against Otto on the season.
And again, Buddy, who's a master at working a bullpen.
I think
he knew that if McGee had a clean inning, he'd get 3 right-handed hitters for Ottavino, and that's why he chose McGee in the 7th, Otto in the 8th tonight.
And especially with these 3 hitters, too, the 3 hottest hitters for the Cubs.
0-1, 0-2 on Baez.
I guarantee you Baez was sitting slider.
Yep. Now he's totally, his mind is done.
Yeah.
They got great.
If he wants it up, typically it's going to be fastball. Out in front of the plate, Otto's got it, and he'll go with the long Eddie Feiner. 2 outs. That's the longest underhand toss in Major League history right there. It was in the neighborhood of 54 feet.
Might not have that on StatCast.
Not quite yet.
No.
Maybe not Major League history, but how about the longest in baseball this year?
Yeah, I'm right with you. I think it is. And then Ryan makes sure that don't go off that back too soon. I'm just going to sit back here. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait, so there's no question. But 2 outs.
2 outs, Chris Bryant. And on the inside corner, a strike. That's and that was his, you know, of his A, B, and C slider. That was the C slider. He didn't really have the snap on it that we typically see, but it still works for a strike.
There's a great article written about Adam Ottavino and his offseason spent at Driveline trying to get himself back, no pun intended, in line with his mechanics. And one other aspect to what he did was he studied high resolution video of how the ball was coming off his fingertips. So he understood what his release point was with the slider. He understood what finger last touched the baseball on certain pitches to get good trajectory with his fastball.
Adam is a very, very bright guy. So the fact that he chose to break down his mechanics in that fashion, as others perhaps would not, is not at all surprising if you know him a little bit.
But we're at a point now where you have the technology that can tell a person, hey, this is what your finger's doing, because we always talk about feel. Well, sometimes to actually know exactly what you're talking about or what it feels like when you're doing good, and that's what Adam's been able to figure out.
2-2 on Bryant. ground ball at DJ. And a 1-2-3 inning for Ottavino in the 8th. The only thing he didn't do that inning, which he typically does, is strike everybody out. Still worked just the same. Tonight, the Rockies with 5 knocks, the Cubs with 6. 3 of their 6 came in the first inning. Adam Ottavino worked a brilliant 8th inning. And at the bottom of the 8th inning, the Rockies will have Tony Walters to lead off. Here's a preview of tomorrow's starters in an afternoon affair here at 20th and Blake. Jose Quintana, the left-hander, will make his 4th start for Chicago. German Marquez will be looking for his 2nd win of the year for the Rockies. League hitting just .209 so far this year against German.
Remember, the Rockies saw Quintana last year when he was pitching for the White Sox, right before the All-Star break and right before he was traded across town.
Just didn't have to get a new place of.
No, it's like being traded from the Yankees to the Mets. You could live in the same spot.
Yeah.
There was probably, what, for that game, 50 scouts here from all over.
Yes.
I mean, people were salivating watching Quintana pitch.
Luke Farrell is on board here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Walters fouls off the first pitch. Curtis Granderson had that happen. He went from the Yankees to the Mets. Stayed in the same apartment on the east side.
Who were the 2 guys that were going to, one played for the Mets, one played for the Yankees? They were going to share an apartment because they would never be there at the same time.
That was Granderson.
Okay.
With the backup catcher for the Yankees.
Yeah,
they
that's
shared
right.
an apartment.
They figured like there's only going to be about 6 or 8 days that they were going to.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Yeah. When they had the crosstown rivalry, that's the only time they saw each other at night.
Yeah, that's funny. And this one is drifted back and out of play. Walters done another great job behind the plate this evening. Working with Tyler Anderson tonight. 6 innings, a 2-run baseball for Tyler. Farrell gets him to chase. Whoa, this one gets by. And Tony may end up at 3rd. He's going to give it a whirl. And hold on a second. He's originally out. They said the ball didn't touch the dirt. Is that the original
what they're
call?
saying? He was running on the inside.
Oh, he's on the inside of the
45-foot line.
Well, that was a whole lot of excitement for a play that was over 5 minutes ago, huh?
Yep.
They played until the whistle blew and nobody blew the whistle.
Well, Jordan Baker was making this call. Oh, he's definitely inside.
Yeah.
You can see. So at that 45-foot line, he's got to be on the foul side of the line.
Buddy came out for an explanation because I bet you he was asking, well, was he, it may have been prior to the 45-foot line that he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's not there yet, you can't make that call.
No, exactly.
This is Ian Desmond pinch hitting.
For Contreras, it looked like he was trying to throw it right at him.
It really did. I was curious. I'm trying to start it.
No, I'm not.
I just would like to see a
But
replay.
I will say this, though, as we take a look here.
I mean, that does not look like you're trying to throw it to Anthony Rizzo.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, that was a little strange.
Yeah.
Two and one on Desmond. Chases breaking ball in the dirt. 2 outs. And that'll bring up DJ. LeMahieu tonight, 1 for 4. Ground rule double in the 5th that scored a run. In fact, it was the Rockies' first run. They were trailing 2-0 when he came to bat in the 5th with 2 outs.
So I have a quick question to you guys, just because we're broadcasters, we always get yelled at for the broadcasters jinx, and with all these great apps, you see the MLB a bat app, they've been putting no hitters on it. And last night, Uncle Ted Leitner, San Diego Padres, mentioned it, and the no hitter ends in the bottom of the 8th inning. Well, tonight there's a game in Oakland versus Red Sox, and it's written everywhere, no hitter going. Do you feel like we're jinxing it in any way?
In reality, of course,
No.
you're not.
Okay, good.
And here's how I always answer that question, because sometimes I won't say anything on the occasion.
Sure.
You know, Kyle Freeland almost had one against the White Sox very quickly. The greatest who's ever done this job, Vin Scully. What did Vin call 19 or 20 of them?
Yeah.
He would tell people we're disseminating information, and pretty relevant information is one team doesn't have any hits. Never
going
comes
to the
down
ninth
to the
inning for that
announcer. 5-2, Colorado looking for 3 more outs.
Davis will face his former team, try and close things out. We're getting ready for the Toyota post-game show. Jenny Kavnar with Corey Sullivan. Pre-game,
We may have disseminated some information that played along with what the gentlemen were just talking about. We said we wanted to string together some at-bats. They got 6 hitters in a row on base. We said third time through with Darvish was a good one.
I said
they
crooked
went
number.
4 for 4 in that third time through. I think we did okay in that regard.
Yeah, it's fun when you string at-bats together, no doubt about it. The Rockies capitalized there, and now they're going to try and finish this one out. We'll see you guys right after the game, Drew.
All right, Jenny, Sully, thank you. And Wade Davis looking for yet another save in what has been a terrific April for the one-time Cub. He was a one-time wonder with the Cubs, saved 32 out of 33 last year for Chicago. This will be his 10th appearance.
Yeah, the 8 saves that Wade has tied him for first in the major leagues with Familia, the Mets.
Familia blew a save tonight down in Atlanta. Blew a save and then ended up getting a loss. Anthony Rizzo, Wilson Contreras, and a pinch hitter here in the 9th with the Rockies up 5-2 on the Cubs. Shift on for Rizzo, and the first pitch misses. Ball 1. Davis, since the start of 2014, over 3 years, is 23-6 with a 1.48 ERA and 87 saves. He's also struck out 323 in 249 plus innings.
See on the Subaru Statcast a little bit of a shift now for Rizzo.
Inside corner, 1-1. Davis has played for Joe Madden twice now in Chicago, clearly, and go back to his years in Tampa.
That's right.
Davis initially was a starting pitcher, teammate of Jake McGee. 2-1. Rizzo hits it high in the air to center. Charlie started in. He's got to go back now. Got pretty good feet, doesn't he? Looked like a defensive back there doing a karaoke for a moment. Misjudged it initially, but still had the wherewithal to make the catch. 1 out. Who Wants Tacos fans, follow us at AT&T Sportsnet RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies Taco Special when the Rockies produce 7 in a game. With 1 out, the catcher for Chicago, Wilson Contreras. And he takes a strike. To right field. Carr makes the catch. 2 gone. And will be Tommy La Stella pinch hitting.
La Stella pinch hit last night. Part of that 6 innings, 7 runs for the Cubs. He walked against Brian Shaw.
And even though Wade Davis rarely shows emotion, I'm sure underneath he's feeling something to get final out against his former team.
Well, he works a 1-2-3 9th. Another save for Wade Davis. It comes against his former club. And a very nice win for the Rockies, coming off a tough night last night. They even up the series at a game apiece. They're now 2 games north of 500 at 12-10. The Cubs go back to 500 at 9-9. And Tyler Anderson, after a tough first inning, settled in nicely. He gets the victory, his first of the year. Yu Darvish takes the loss. He's 0-2. And once again, Davis with his 9th save. The Rockies pitchers retired the last 14 Cub batters of the game. Plenty to do out in center field. We get you there right now. Here's Jenny and Sully.
All right, Drew, thanks so much. We mentioned you needed that stopper starter, and guess what? Tyler Anderson was exactly that tonight. He gets his first decision, and it happens to be a win.
Yeah, he did an incredible job after the first inning, shutting him down. He pitched with some traffic, but he did really well. but the double play by Nolan really flipped the script on this game and changed the energy.
It did. We're excited to show you all of that and much more. We'll get inside the clubhouse as well. It's all coming up on the Toyota Postgame Show.